Within my project, I'm going to discuss the different practices and perceptions of educational NGOs in Haiti. I wanted to study how these NGOs form their curricula and how they form their practices based on different cultural capital present in Haiti, and also how language affects their methods and how language affects how Haitians perceive the work of NGOs. So I'll start by contextualizing both the state of education and NGOs in Haiti. The country is one of the least economically developed in the world, and because of government corruption and instability, Haitians often rely on NGOs to provide a lot of basic services. This includes education, so there's no real national curriculum or standard for education in Haiti. This means that often NGOs working on education there have to work literally from the ground up. So they build schools themselves before they shape different curriculum and work with locals to incorporate schools into different respective communities. So I've listed some of the sources I want to draw from, including a few articles and an interview I conducted with Madame Carole Bergen, a French professor who's worked extensively in Haiti. And I'll use these to start to analyze the general roles that NGOs play within the country and how they've started to reshape educational implementation there. It's important for me to note that while dozens and dozens of educational groups have sought to impact the Haitian educational environment, only a few have proven really successful. So I work primarily with those in order to examine a number of different aspects that I think make possible their success. Having set the stage, I'll move into discussing how different educational NGOs determine their curricula, how they differentiate themselves according to their varying intents, and the methods that they use in shaping their practices. So again, I'll draw from different articles and a few of the interviews I conducted. I intend to analyze what I've learned about NGOs' educational programs through the lens of Professor Lucerna's discussion of cultural capital within her dissertation, as well as through the lens of Wenger and Lave's ideas on legitimate peripheral participation and situated learning. This video is produced by the English in Mind Institute, which extensively leverages cultural capital to create its program, and also employs situated learning techniques to implement its practices. So it's as much an exchange of culture as it is of language, and I'm planning to use it as an example of an educational nonprofit in Port-au-Prince that really prides itself on its cultural capital and effectively employs different learning methods to achieve success. Then I'll move into discussing language and its relationship to identity in Haiti, as well as the effect that language has on education in the country. Its official language is Haitian Creole, but French, English, and Spanish are fairly widely spoken as well, and each language has its own distinct societal connotations. So language effectively influences educational experience, and I can play you a clip from my interview with Madame Bergen to show this.
They were.
They
are more and more now switching or starting with teaching in Creole, Haitian Creole, which is, I think, much better because with the French, you would end up with people who never got the basis right because they didn't understand it. Where now, if you teach the basics of math and history or whatever in their language and then gradually switch to French, it works much better.
So, by drawing from her insights and experience and the experiences of a few other interviewees, I'll start to establish the connection between language, education, and identity. I also want to incorporate ideas from Tessonneau's and Hebblethwaite's articles on the subject. As you can see from the quote here, Hebblethwaite expresses a sentiment connected, certainly, to that of Madame Bergen, but the thesis of his article is much more politically and socially charged, and it grapples with identity as well. So I ultimately hope to show that language, education, and identity inform and impact each other, especially in the context of educational NGOs in Haiti. Lastly, I'll move into discussing the Haitian perception of NGOs. So I'm going to play a clip from one of the interviews I conducted with a field worker, Sophia Randolph, who spoke to me about the educational organization for which she taught, and this should give you a sense of a kind of reaction gauged with respect to the work and workers of educational NGOs particularly.
I can tell you in English in Mind, they absolutely adore the head volunteer, Steph.
Okay.
She's someone who she comes down and leads probably like 50% of the trips. And
so in this section, I'll synthesize my previous analysis and consider how both programmatic design and linguistic variation affect the way that Haitian students and citizens react to the work of NGOs in their communities. And again, I want to examine some of the nuances related to how NGOs conduct their educational work and Haitian identity. So I'm planning to draw heavily from the interviews I've conducted, in addition to ethnographic articles written by researchers who interviewed Haitian students themselves and asked them about their own perceptions. So this will be the section where all of the ideas that I've been discussing related to cultural capital, related to learning methods, and language switching will come into play. And I'm going to try to firmly establish that cyclic connection between how Haitians perceive NGOs and their ultimate efficacy. By explaining how NGOs make use of cultural capital and situated learning, and then by examining their different uses of language and discussing the perception of these groups by Haitians themselves, I want to elucidate some of the characteristics that I believe enable certain nonprofits to prove extremely effectual among so many that fail to make an impact.